Welcome back to Iowa Live. Lou and Jackie here. We love introducing you to local authors, and even better when we can introduce you once again to a local author who you've seen on this program that has a book that's being released today, Jackie.
Yeah, an Iowan to know, an Iowan author to know. So very excited to introduce you to Debra Landwehr. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so this is your first work of fiction.
It is.
That's been in publication. So talk about this, but a little history of yourself. How long have you been writing since you're a local?
Sure, yeah.
Now, finally, we have a book that's out.
You're right. Very exciting. So I grew up in Beaverdale,
okay.
Local girl, and have been writing really my whole life. So even as a child, loved to write. So I've been fortunate to have 4 books of nonfiction published over the past few years.
Now you had some Oprah connections there too, didn't you?
Well, a little bit, yeah. My very first book was in Oprah magazine back in 2003, which was very exciting.
Huge.
And then over the past about 4 or 5 years, I've had 3 books of spiritual self-help nonfiction published, which have done really well and have just been a delight to go out and talk to people, do workshops based on those. But then actually back in 2012, I had a dream. I woke up from a dream and it had the premise for this book, and I thought to myself, oh, that would make such an interesting book. And I started writing it right away. Really didn't have any intentions of writing fiction, even though I've loved fiction my whole life, but it just showed up.
All right, name of the book is 20, and what does 20 signify?
20 is, for one thing, it's the number of chapters in the book. It signifies the number of days that are taking place within the story. And the reason for that is at the very, very beginning of the book, the main character, Meg, who is a 55-year-old woman living on an acreage in Iowa, she is just at a place in her life where she's been through a lot of losses and is not quite sure, you know, what she sees ahead for herself. So she kind of thinks maybe she's done with life, makes a decision that gives her 20 days to come to terms with what her life is really all about, and hopefully finding some peace in those losses that she's experienced before. So the book really takes us through those 20 days of her life, and we see how she makes some internal changes, you know, to deal with the things that that she's been dealt in life.
Right, you said she has been dealt with some losses. What kind of losses are we talking about?
Well, one of them was that she had a 10-year-old daughter that was killed in an accident.
Oh no.
As a result of that, she and her husband separated and eventually divorced. And then her mother, who she was the caretaker for, at the time that the book starts, it's been 5 years since her mother passed away. All of this sounds like a huge downer.
No, but that's the setup for the story, though, isn't it?
It is the setup for the story, and in the end, I think it's really inspirational and very uplifting. That was my intention. But it's also, I think, very true to life, because we all go through some difficult times, and we do all have losses. So I wanted a book that really reflect the emotions that we all feel at one time or another.
Are you using your experience from nonfiction of enlightenment and inspiration to maybe influence this character in a fictional piece?
I am, and a lot of that was just intuitive as I wrote, because I wasn't sure where the story was really going. Fiction is so different because you're just building that story as you go along.
I was going to say, what's the big difference?
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, nonfiction, there's some truths and research that needs to be backing the material, but is there a big difference in the writing process?
There really is, because with nonfiction, you do go in having a pretty good idea of what you're going to write about, and you've got the research, you've got the interviews, you've got the basis, you know, the foundation for what you're writing. But with the story, with fiction, it's just your imagination, and you don't know what's going to show up from moment to moment. So even at the very end of the book, a couple of my favorite scenes came in at the very, very end, where I just felt like I needed something more, but had no idea what was going to kind of float in to my imagination.
But they just came out of nowhere, the ideas?
They really do, yeah. Now, you know, there's this adage in writing, write what you know.
Right.
So, of course, there's a lot about Iowa, there's a lot about living in rural Iowa. There are little things from my own life that you just naturally weave in, because you just draw on your own experience. But certainly it's a very different story than what I personally have lived.
But how fun when you can kind of recognize those nuances.
Yes.
It makes it even more fun read for us here in Iowa as well. But it's how amazing that a dream kind of took you this direction.
It did. You know, I've heard about a lot of authors who write based on their dreams.
Right.
And so I think it's interesting to see that that can be a really great inspiration, literally, for a book.
Now, you mentioned the main character is Meg. How old of a person is Meg?
Meg is 55.
Okay.
And she as I say, is still living in the house where she grew up,
Okay.
which is where she went after she got divorced and went back to take care of her mom.
Right, and how did she come about, or how did this story come about with the 20 days? That's
Right.
an unusual number to say.
It is.
Within 20 days, I'm going to change my life. Was it part of a program, or what was it all about?
Yeah, what happens is that when her mother was sick, her mother's doctor gave her these mysterious little green kind of pearls, but pills, tablets, essentially, and was kind of mysterious about them, but he said, if your mom really gets into bad shape and she needs some help, give her these, and in 20 days she will just pass on peacefully. So Meg has kept these all of these years, never used them with her mom, but at the very, very beginning of the book, that's really how it starts, is with Meg making a decision that she's going to take these.
Really?
But because they've been around for so long, she doesn't really know that much about them. She's not sure if they're going to work or not. So she's got 20 days to not know if she's
What
going to
might
live
happen.
or die. Yeah, yep. And in that way, I think it's interesting because all of us, none of us know, how long we'll be here.
Right.
So I think some of the things that Meg grapples with, sort of the things that she takes a look at in her life, are really things that all of us take a look at. We just don't have as imminent a deadline as she might.
Now, even though this is a fiction novel that is here, do you think people will learn something by reading
I
the
think
book?
so. There have been some early reviews from readers that I just have so appreciated. One of them said she felt like she went on the journey along with Meg, because every once in a while she would put the book down and she would just kind of think about, well, what would I do in this situation? Or thinking about something that maybe she had regrets about, or something that she needed to come to terms with. So I think there is a lot of self-reflection that people may come to. Plus there are discussion questions at the back of the book. It's really an excellent book, I think, for book clubs, discussion
you
groups, because there are so many themes about life that we all deal with every day that in a group setting can really lead to a lot of great discussion.
Right.
Plus there's a downloadable book club kit. People can go to my site, click on the link, and download this kit that the publisher put together that's beautiful, with a playlist of music, different songs to play during your book club meeting, foods to serve that are
Wow,
related to the
really
book.
breaking it down.
elaborate.
It is. It's great. So
Step by step.
absolutely everything you need.
All right, so where
love
can the
it.
book be purchased?
You can buy it at all retailers, online.
Let me
at all
guess,
independent
Beaverdale
bookstores.
Books will be one of them, right?
Beaverdale Books will be one of them. I'm doing a book signing there and book launch party this Friday at 6 o'clock, Beaverdale Books, and everybody's invited. So I hope everyone will turn out. I'll sign books. We'll have some refreshments, tell you a little bit about the background, have a good time.
I love it. I love knowing that we have a successful author here that's written many books that have been published. What would you say is an inspiration to others who maybe they're having a similar idea, or their
Yes.
imagination is going and they would love to write it down and see where it might go? What do you say to inspire those individuals?
Boy, just keep going, keep at it. It's persistence more than anything. Persistence is the name of the game. And I actually mentor writers, and I always kind of walk that walk with them, where you go through so many different emotions as you're writing, and there will be times where you just want to give up and think, it's too hard, or I don't know what I'm doing, but just keep going. If you've got, one of my favorite quotes about writing is that if your heart has something to say, there's a heart out there who needs to hear it. So just write for that one person. It could be somebody in your life, a stranger, but know that there's somebody out there who needs your idea, your voice, and just keep going, because it's so worth it.
I love it.
awesome.
If people want more details, you've mentioned your website. What's
Right.
the best place to go so they can learn more?
DebraEngle.com, so it's DebraEngle.com.
All right.
There you go.
Debra Landwehr Engel, author. Book comes out today, available now. 20 is the name of it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
in.
Thank
so
you for
much.
joining us today.